I am here with the one and only Dr. Elizabeth Yurth. She is one of the top authorities in anti-aging, regenerative medicine, orthopedics, and actually anything you can think of to make your life better. She's got more letters after her name than I can pronounce, but one of the things you don't know about her, and that is very important to me in my work, in my heart, is that she is also on the forefront of understanding the effects that your mind and your spirituality and your emotions have on healing. So we're going to have a little bit of a different conversation today. Everyone comes to her for all of her expertise in science and wellness, and she's got more than most people in the entire world. But sometimes the secret sauce and the magic is in the intention, and this even matters from our doctors, from our practitioners, and from all of the people that they surround themselves with. So with that, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit more about what it was that ignited in you, in your soul, in your mindset, that one day you said, I am going to help people live better lives. I am going to heal people.
So I definitely got to this world from a very different place because orthopedics, I think, is as far removed from health as you can be. You go to your orthopedic doctor when you sprain your ankle or you break a bone or you have horrible hip arthritis and need a joint replacement. And there's really no talk about health there, right? It's all, let's take care of your joint, get you back on the road. And what I started to realize in that world was it didn't work. And that what we would do is simply patch people back and they would never really get completely better, and then they'd be back with a little more pain and they patch them back up. And it kind of was just this cascade of events where you patch people back together until finally you replace the joint, and then they were still not great, but they were better. And so I really got very frustrated. I've been doing that medicine for a long time, and really 20 years ago said, you know what, there's more to this story. And I started looking at how I could get people healthy and see if sometimes that was all it took to get rid of their joint pain. Or at least it would be an adjunctive care to my treatments. So I went back and did all this retraining in epigenetics and longevity medicine and functional medicine and started incorporating that into my orthopedic practice, which didn't go very well. Because it's not really a place for that. You have 15-minute appointments to basically see a knee. And so we opened my clinic, Boulder Longevity Institute, about 20 years ago now, and really started doing this kind of medicine there. So I'd wear my orthopedic cap by day and my longevity cap at night. And then really only 5 years ago, we combined the two, where now we have this whole regenerative medicine, orthopedic medicine, all together under one roof. So that's kind of my story into this world, which I think is very different from the typical doctor getting into this.
Yes, and I think there's something very different about your practice, because I believe what you practice and provide for your patients is enlightened care, right?
Exactly. So one of the big things we really teach all of our providers to do is what we call enlightened hospitality. Basically realizing that, medicine is about as far from enlightened hospitality as there is. You go to your doctor, it's almost an unpleasant experience most of the time, right? You're from the front desk to the people you're interacting with, you're just kind of shoved along, and then it's sort of this generally kind of cold environment. And so we wanted to change that. We wanted to teach our providers, how do you actually make people feel loved and happy and comfortable, and how would that accelerate their ability to heal? So we make our providers all read books about hospitality and mindset, and we're trying to treat medicine in more of a hospitality environment and not just this cold, client-physician care relationship.
That's absolutely beautiful. And so what are some of the things that, let's start with your practice, that you have found that have shifted things in how you deal with your staff, for example, and having such a big team, because your, Boulder Longevity Institute is one of the larger institutes in the country, and you definitely provide all kinds of care for people.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people to deal with. And so I think that you guys have meetings, have discussions, right. And I know that your intention has always been to really provide the absolute best care for your patients, not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally. And so what are some of the practices that you incorporate with your staff?
The interesting thing is when you start to realize that people have to think they're going to get well, right? I can have two patients who I treat identically. And if one has a mindset of, I know this is going to work and I'm going to heal, I'm going to be better, and the other comes to you with like, well, nothing has worked before. I'll try it, but it's not going to work. That patient doesn't do well. So we really started to focus on how do we change people's mindset? How do we get them into a mindset of, I can be healthy, I can be better? And one of the things actually, some of our discussions made me realize is that my own staff has a play on that. Because when somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm never going to get better, you as a provider sometimes exhibit this negative energy back, right? They're frustrating to us. It's like, well, they don't even want to do what I want to tell them to do. They're never going to get better. And so that energy, that feedback from the provider to the patient becomes just another reinforcement to the patient that they can't get better. And it can be really subtle. You can listen to that conversation on the phone, with one of my client care coordinators and the patient. They were very pleasant, but the provider is, you feel their angst, you feel their anxiety when they're talking to the patient. And we were lucky enough to have you actually come to one of our meetings, right? You and I met at a conference now, I guess almost a year ago, and became kind of fast friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, the things she preaches are exactly what my staff needs. How do they get their brain, their mindset into a place where it can reflect onto the patient they're taking care of? So, it was hugely enlightening to have you talk to the staff and give them tools. Here's tools that you can use. So before you even start your day, before you even see your clients, especially a client that you know is going to be hard for you, here's tools that you can use to get your mindset in that place. And that's been incredible, right? That little tiny shift of just using some of these tools like dancing, just little tiny tools, was starting your day with this kind of, touching the ground with gratitude and bringing that to work. And then when I talk to that patient, even if I'm frustrated by that patient, I have a different energy about me. And that energy is transferred to that patient so that their negative energy can be sort of blocked, right?
Absolutely. 100%. I think so I'm in love with doctors, but specifically doctors like you. And I do believe that doctors are the angels on the planet, because at some point you did choose to heal people, to help people, whether it's through orthopedics, to help them get out of pain. That is a very big task. And I do feel that the doctor, the leader of the organization, has so much to do, right? It starts there with that mindset. And I know that you are personally very passionate about providing the best care in every area. And so what are some of the practices that you do for yourself to put yourself in that mindset so that you can bring your absolute best to all of the people that are blessed to work with you, either be part of your family, your staff, your community, and as your patient?
There's so many, and I will, again, give you credit for some of the tools I've added to my regimen that helped me to deal with that. Because I realize I can say, oh, my staff was negative, but I have the same thing. You see a patient, and sometimes the patient will just walk in the room, or you get them on the camera, and immediately you feel this this energy loss, right? This energy sucked from them. And you have to recognize that and be able to bring it back. So, one of the tools you gave me is simply, for instance, before seeing those patients even, going out and just doing some breathing, getting in the sunlight, and then coming back in. And that puts me into a different mindset to see that client. But also, one of the things that you taught us was understanding that sometimes you feel like these people are angry at you, right? And are out to get you. And you sort of gave the scenario of nobody is there trying to harm you. You have to sort of think of them as sort of a needy child, or somebody who is frustrated and upset, and be able to treat them with that respect. And that as even if it's like somebody's just yipping at you all the time, that you can actually understand why they're doing that. And if you keep that in that perspective, and that's why I teach my staff, people can seem so horrible, and part of that is their fear and their pain and their frustration. And we always have to remember that, because I've seen patients being horrible patients to deal with. And then once you start getting them recovered, all of a sudden you're like, oh, actually, they're a nice human. So you have to keep your mind open to that. The other thing for me is I have to do exercise, because that puts me in a mindset that I can even go to work and do the things I do, because now I'm in a better place. If I don't exercise, then I'm frustrated and unhappy, and so I can get up and exercise and then go to work. I love like music too. That's another thing taught me was I didn't listen to music when I was at work, right? But I will actually now put music on in the background when I'm just working. And that subtle music in the background is honestly enough sometimes to completely put me in a different mood. And I never did that. You're at your desk working, you kind of don't think about having music in the background. And even playing it in between patients sometimes, right? Putting a song that makes you really happy in between patients.
Yeah.
So again, gratitude to you for getting us there. And my staff there, I think everybody after we met with you felt a whole sort of different perspective on how we interact with each other too.
Yes.
Because that's the big thing. You have to be so supportive to each other.
That was my next question. Now, everything that you do really trickles down to the accelerated healing of the patient.
Right.
And that enlightened hospitality. And I know that you also do a lot more for your patients than just treat them. But let's go back to the staff. So how do you, with your staff, have fun and play so that you can keep things lighthearted? Because look, you're saving people's lives. It can get really heavy.
It's very frustrating. I mean, we're really lucky in that we've put together a really good group of people, and I think one of the things is we rapidly, when we hire somebody, if it's very obvious that there's not going to be a synergy, that we're like, okay, this isn't going to work. So even if they're the best provider, if we don't have that synergy with each other, there's such a, you have to, and I heard this from a book basically talking about a restaurant, and if your staff can't be happy with each other, they can't take care of the clients. And so we've tried to create this network of support. We have our staff every week, they have a meeting. And at that meeting, everybody, so all week you can jot down all the crap you've dealt with, or something that's really frustrating, or something that's not working. And every week, and the staff will be in there, and I'm not included in that, but it's just the staff, right? So they can sit there and pound out and hammer out why something's not working and how to make it better, without me overseeing it, without me, so they can, within themselves, figure out, okay, we have this problem, let's figure out an answer to it. And that's been, sometimes those meetings go on for 2 hours. But they love them because it's this place where they can all interact and laugh about the bad stuff and be in the same place on it. So I think that's so critically important, is to get your staff an environment where they can be heard, where they can meet with each other, where they can bounce things off of each other, and where they know that they can make a change, right? They don't need to go to a higher up to make change. So, we give them a lot of autonomy to say, this isn't working, we'll do it this way, instead of having some big boss person say, no, this is the way I'll do it. So that's so important. And it's really, even when people are angry at each other and it's been a horrible week, that meeting regrounds everybody.
I think that's essential. And it's absolutely beautiful, right? Because they are the energy right in between you and the patients.
The biggest energy, honestly, because they have a much more interaction with the patients, right? They're talking to them sometimes every day with these patients. So they are really the, where I may see a patient every 3 months or something, they're seeing them oftentimes, talking to them on the phone, somebody's frustrated, or as labs, every single day. So they are the most critical person really in the office, and your front desk person, right?
Absolutely, yes. That answering the phone with a smile,
right? Exactly,
right? And so now let's talk about the patient outcomes. I know you touched on this already about just what you have seen, a two-part thing, right? Because it's not just mindset. It is that optimization of the brain chemistry, of the physical wellness.
It all comes together.
Right? Because if the mind is not well or the chemistry is not well, also it's difficult to have that positive mindset. So where have you seen are the most important things that really move the needle for your patients? What shifts are the ones that you see that really suddenly you're like, wow, that patient was so frustrated, and look at them, they're a whole different person now.
We can't right? We can't change everything with our brains as much as you can change a lot, but we can't change everything. So, for me to look at a woman who has no progesterone and expect her not to be anxious and irritable is unreasonable. So for me to say, just change your mindset, right? It's not going to work. I have to fix her hormones. So I would say number one in that tier of things you have to address is hormones. They absolutely have to be optimized. Because without hormone optimization, your brain's not going to function well. You're not going to be able to sleep, not going to be able to exercise. So I see doctors going, okay, you just need to eat better and sleep better. And how do you do that if you have no progesterone, you have no testosterone? You have no progesterone, you want carbohydrates, and you're not going to sleep well, you have no testosterone, you're going to go to the gym, but you don't make any muscle, and so you get frustrated and quit.
Right.
So I think we have to remember that we can't change everything. As much as we like to believe behaviors are the first in the tier, you can't get those behaviors changed until you get the hormones. So always, I think, we did this course called What to Fix First, and I went back and forth with this. I said, well, do you fix that? People have to fix their diet first, right? That's the first thing, fix their diet first. And then it occurred to me, I'm not going to get them to fix their diet until I fix their hormones and then work on their diet, right? So I think you have to start there. That's the base of the pyramid, is making sure that all the hormones, and that's in younger people and older people and men and women across the board.
That makes 100% sense, because that is something that we run into, right? We have people that are very spiritual and meditate for 20 minutes every morning, travel all over the world and see gurus, and they're still not well, and they're still frustrated or depressed or have lack of motivation. And I definitely think fixing the physical.
Right. And then you can work more on the mindset if you need to, right?
100%, yeah. So the hormones would be first. And then what would be like two more things that you would follow with that?
Well, obviously, after fixing the hormones, I'm going to address nutrition, make sure that they're getting adequate protein, that they're getting 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, that I have them sleeping appropriately, using light and dark appropriately, because all that has to follow the next step. And then we start pulling in the things that maybe they get a little bit more detailed, right? So things like, if somebody's immune system is really suffering, and I haven't been able to fix it with hormones and diet and exercise, then I start looking at things like, can I use peptides along that realm? So then we can pull in some of the more endogenous ways that our body also heals. So remember, peptides are kind of, you think about them as some magic molecules, but we make them, not all of them. Mm-hmm. So, but I like to replace those ones that we make, because you think about, well, what did I have when I was young that made me be able to function better? And hormones first, but then there are peptides, like the thymic peptides, like BPC, that are really also critical pieces. So in my longevity kind of protocol is how I say, okay, we fix the hormones, we fix the lifestyle, and then we start adding in some of these essential peptides that work on mitochondrial function, that work on healing, that work on immune function, because those are declining with my age, so I can replace those. So we'll cycle those sort of peptides into the mix as well to kind of, icing on the cake optimization. People try and start there. Mm-hmm. People love peptides.
Right.
We're at this ASPRE conference, and I tried to get into Jay Campbell's peptide talk, and it was jam-packed. People love their peptides, right? Whereas instead I went into the sauna talk, and it was empty. People still love their big magical things as opposed to some of the simple behavioral stuff. But no doubt they are useful.
That's the icing on the cake.
It's icing on the cake.
For sure. So one of the things that I admired from you from the time I met you, and actually before I actually got to meet you in person, is the level of generosity that you have. You have a program for people that obviously not everyone can come and see you, go to Boulder, and so you provide a university for people that you educate the public, you allow them to ask you questions, and this happens once a month. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the things you realize is that we can't see everybody who needs help, and there's not enough doctors who do this. So we went and said, okay, well, let's start educating people so they can sort of take on their own healthcare, be their own health advocates. Interestingly, now a lot of physicians have joined that, but we have something called Human Optimization Academy. And there's both information we put on sites like how to read your own labs, what to fix first. And then we do these monthly Q&As, which have become incredible because people ask such great questions. It is phenomenal. I have to tell you, the questions that this group asks are better than any conferences I've been to, really getting information across to people. So Human Optimization Academy was our hope of how do we get people to be able to take charge of their lives a little bit more. And it's, again, it sort of started out, oh, this is just going to be for healthcare people or for people interested in their own healthcare. And now we have, probably half the group is actually physicians who have tagged into it too. So, so you realize the thirst for this knowledge is there. And one of my goals is always to stay kind of one step ahead of everything. So I'm always kind of researching the most newest, latest, and greatest thing. And then looking at that to see, is it real? Is it something that truly is going to be beneficial to add? So that's one of my sort of, what I consider one of my big goals, is to make sure that I'm keeping ahead of the curve, but not pulling in every Instagram supplement or biohack that exists.
And I'm grateful that you do that, and I know a lot of people are, because you really do help the public get educated, especially, you have physicians that follow you, and a lot of doctors actually learn from Dr. Yurth, but it's a blessing, and if people are not in your university, they definitely should join, because it's a way to have access to the latest information and everything, fun. And it's fun. Yes, and you have a fun staff. Your staff is so much fun.
Great. Yeah, and we do sometimes the staff do some little things too, so it's great.
I love that. And then there's one more thing I'm going to ask you about, because part of your Enlightened hospitality, you do special things for your patients that I have never heard of any other doctor doing. And this is very unique, and I think this really does show the level of generosity and love and passion that you have to really give back to people. You go above and beyond in what you do for your patients, and even just for people at large with your university.
So all our staff sort of has an amount of money that they can spend however they want on their clients. So they don't have to ask. They see a client who's in need. Their dog just died. Their daughter just graduated. Something bad happened in their life. They're really struggling with something. So they see something like that, and they'll just independently go to Etsy and find a charm, that they could send for this, or flowers, or meal plan, or some meals from Uber, whatever that patient needs. So they are so in tune with their clients. Our client care coordinators are designed to be, kind of your guru, your Sherpa through this whole existence. And the Sherpa needs to know that you're struggling or happy or whatever it might be. And then they have this, again, they have money that they don't have to ask. They can go, oh, this person really needs something right now. Mm-hmm. So I will send them a little gift card. I will send them, some flowers. I'll send them something to make them feel better, even if that patient's just struggling because their health has been so poor. So it's really been great, both for the staff to be able to do that, right? That they can just say, okay, I've got this money, I can spend it where I need it. And I think patients get really excited when all of a sudden you get out of the blue flowers because somebody knows you've been just struggling. Yeah. It just makes you feel like, wow, these are actually people who care, and we do. I would say we call our patients our BLI family because we truly feel like we don't have a big, massive practice. It's not our goal. We try and keep it small enough that we can personally know everybody, that we can actually know their lives. It's kind of like that old-time family doctor. Yes. Using your old-time family doctor could get people better because they knew the patient's lives. They knew when a kid was sick, and that's what we strive to be, except in a more modernistic world.
Absolutely, and I'm so grateful for you. That is so beautiful, and I know you're touching so many lives in so many ways. And so the other thing is that you are very popular on Instagram as well now, and I'm really grateful that you are putting content out there for people. And so you're putting more day-to-day information on Instagram. Like, what kind of tips do you put in there for people?
I'm trying to do better with putting out content on Instagram, and I'm keeping it very scientifically, informationally oriented. So I don't sell any products. I don't, nobody's paying me to advertise anything. So I'm really trying to just look at interesting research or interesting things that I could defend with science and put that information out there. So that hopefully people have a place to go where they can learn, knowing that I'm not trying to sell them anything. I don't need them as patients. I don't need them to buy this, but I want them to have this knowledge. So that's really our goal, is to try and share these pieces of information that don't have any kind of bias, that really have one goal, and that's for people to help take care of themselves better.
That's absolutely so helpful and useful to people because you provide the science in bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
that people can digest and understand. And, you know, if they can't come to Boulder Longevity, at least they have information that they may be able to take to their local doctor and ask about something. So well, everybody knows who you are, but let's just say, where do people find you? Where do they follow you, especially on Instagram? Because that is, you know, social media has become a very big blessing in the world, where we get access to extraordinary minds such as Dr. Yurth's. And that's a place where, when we're lucky enough to have true scientists, true researchers, and people with the true passion and knowledge to help us, we get to go there and have that blessing. So where can people?
So follow me at Dr. Yurth and follow at Boulder Longevity Institute, and then our YouTube channel, Boulder Longevity Institute. Great place to go to for sort of the longer videos. Probably going to post the lecture I just gave here at Asprey's conference, and then at Facebook on Boulder Longevity Institute as well.
And if you want to get your questions answered, you have to join the university.
Join the Human Optimization Academy. So if you just go to bli.academy, then you can sign up. It's inexpensive, and then throw your questions in. We love these questions. Like I said, you guys will learn a lot. Just even if you don't even have any questions, you'll listen to other people's questions and go, "Oh my God, I had no idea." So that's a really, for the cost, it's, you know, it's incredible.
It's extraordinary, and you have the library there.
Right. So there's information, videos, there's things you can go to.
Right. Amazing. Yeah. Well, this was a wonderful, enlightened conversation with one of my favorite angel doctors on the planet. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being a blessing to the world and for giving all of your love, all of your knowledge, all of your generosity at such an extraordinary level. The world is blessed to have you, and I thank you for the work that you do.
To make me cry. And I will credit this woman just sometimes when I've been in a really bad place, she always has some little message she sends me at just the right time that brings me back up and feels like I can keep going and doing this. So thank you, Lea.
I love you. All right.